Why did the reflection keep moving after I'd stopped? I booked the Airbnb because it looked quiet, cozy, and isolated, the kind of place you retreat to after months of burnout. It was a small, two-story guest house tucked in the woods about an hour outside Asheville, North Carolina. The listing had glowing reviews, all praising its cleanliness, peaceful surroundings, and how the host respected privacy. I arrived late, just after sunset. The drive was long and winding, and by the time I stepped inside, the sky was already ink black and the surrounding woods were silent. It was colder than expected, and the smell inside the house had that aged, wooden musk, not musty, just lived in. Everything matched the photos, except for one thing. In the bedroom upstairs, leaning against the far wall across from the bed, was a tall, ornate, full-length mirror. It stood nearly 7 feet tall, framed in dark, intricately carved wood, twisting vines and roses curling around its edges. It was beautiful, but I paused when I saw it. It hadn't been in the listing photos. Not once. Still, I chalked it up to redecorating and let it go. That first night, I slept restlessly. Not because of the mirror, at least not yet, but because the woods outside were loud. Crickets, owls, the occasional crack of a branch. And maybe I was just too used to city sounds. But around 3 a.m., something strange happened. I woke up suddenly, not from a noise, but from a feeling, like someone was watching me. My eyes opened, adjusting to the dim light. The curtains were open just enough for the moon to pour in, lighting the room in a cold, pale glow. I looked toward the mirror. My reflection was sitting up in bed. I was still lying down. I froze, completely still, heart thudding. I thought maybe it was a trick of the light, or that I had partially sat up without realizing. I slowly lifted my head, watching the mirror. This time, the reflection didn't move. It stayed sitting up, staring directly at me. I scrambled to the bedside lamp and turned it on. The moment the light filled the room, the reflection snapped into sync, mirroring me exactly like normal. It was like nothing had happened. I didn't sleep again that night. The next morning, I emailed the host asking about the mirror. No reply. By evening, I debated leaving early, but curiosity got the better of me. I told myself I was overtired, stressed, and probably imagining things. Maybe I'd had some weird sleep paralysis episode. Still, I avoided looking directly at the mirror all day. That night, I covered it with a blanket. It didn't matter. At exactly 3:03 a.m., I woke again. The blanket was on the floor. I was on my side, facing away from the mirror, but I could feel something. That weight again, like eyes pressing into the back of my neck. I turned over. The mirror showed me lying flat on my back, even though I was still on my side. And behind that version of me, just barely visible in the corner of the mirror's reflection, was a shadow. It wasn't a trick of the room. I could see the doorway behind me in real life, empty. But in the mirror, something was standing there. Tall, too tall, its outline warped and unnatural, like limbs that bent in the wrong places. I sat up in bed. The reflection stayed still for a moment, then slowly, unnaturally, matched me. I didn't move, but in the mirror, my face slowly curled into a smile. And then it waved at me. That was it. I grabbed my keys and left, drove into town, and slept in my car in a gas station lot. The next morning, I returned only to grab my bag. I didn't even go upstairs. The host still hadn't responded, and when I checked the listing again, something had changed. There were no reviews anymore. No trace of the listing at all. It was just gone. A few weeks later, I got curious and searched Airbnb listings in that area. I found another cabin with similar windows, same address, but the photos inside were completely different. No mirror, no bedroom upstairs, just a single-story home. One bedroom. I even emailed the new listing just to ask about the mirror. The host replied, "Sorry, we just purchased the property this spring. You must be thinking of the old house. It burned down last year. Nothing was salvageable, but I know what I saw, and I still think about the reflection, smiling, waving, like it was trying to learn. If someone else rents that place next, whatever version of it exists now, I hope they don't bring mirrors. Or worse, I hope they don't bring their own reflection." He watched me check in, smiled politely from the porch, but his obituary said he died 3 weeks before I arrived. I needed a break. Something quiet, off-grid, no people, no drama. After the breakup, my nerves were shot, and I figured a solo weekend in a coastal Oregon town would do the trick. I found an Airbnb listing last minute, a detached guest cottage behind a large, historic home. Quaint, ivy-covered, just secluded enough to feel peaceful, but not isolated enough to feel unsafe. The listing had solid reviews. The host, someone named Arthur, was described as polite but quiet. A few people mentioned he lived in the main house, but kept to himself. Perfect. I arrived just before dusk. It had that eerie kind of golden light that makes everything feel both beautiful and a little unreal. There was no one to greet me, but the key was exactly where the instructions said it'd be, under a cracked ceramic frog on the porch. As I unlocked the guest house, I got the distinct feeling I was being watched. I turned toward the main house and saw him, an older man, standing at the upstairs window. Tall, pale, completely still, watching. I gave an awkward wave. He didn't move. Maybe that was just how he was, one of those overly reserved types. Whatever. The cottage inside was cozy, wooden floors, vintage lamps, a fireplace that smelled faintly of smoke, and something older. I settled in quickly, made some tea, and sat by the fire with a book. But later that night, around 1:30 a.m., I heard footsteps on the gravel just outside. Slow, crunching, deliberate. I peeked through the blinds. It was him, Arthur, walking from the back of the house toward the woods. Except, his walk didn't look right. His body moved stiffly, like he couldn't bend his knees, like he was being puppet forward. I watched, frozen, as he disappeared into the dark tree line. The next morning, I saw muddy footprints on the cottage steps. I told myself maybe he was just a strange old man who liked nightly walks. Maybe there was a path back there. But that day, I couldn't shake the chill. Every time I walked by a window, I half expected to see him standing there, watching. That evening, just after sunset, I heard something new. The sound of a soft tapping, not on the door, but on the glass of the bathroom window. I whipped the curtain aside. Nothing. But below the window, in the dirt, a single boot print. Too large to be mine. I messaged the host through the Airbnb app. No response. I tried again, asking directly. Hi Arthur, just checking in. Is everything okay? Are you or anyone else walking around at night? No reply. That night, I made sure every door and window was locked. I even moved a chair in front of the front door. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to 3 hard knocks on the back door. The one that faced the woods. Knock, knock, knock. Then came the voice. Low, dry, almost mechanical. Are you in there? It wasn't the voice of an old man. It wasn't quite human at all. I stayed frozen in bed until sunrise. As soon as it was light, I called Airbnb customer support. I explained the situation, the host, the nightly appearances, the voice at the door. The woman on the line paused, then said something I'll never forget. I'm so sorry, but that property doesn't have a current host. The owner, Arthur, passed away 3 weeks ago. No one else is authorized to be on site. I told her I'd seen him, spoken to him. She repeated it. He was dead. I packed my things in 10 minutes flat and got out. As I drove down the gravel road, I couldn't help myself. I looked in the rearview mirror, and there he was, standing in the driveway, not at the porch, not in the window, dead center of the gravel path, staring directly at me. He didn't wave. He didn't move, but his mouth was open, as if he was trying to say something I couldn't hear, or scream, and no sound would come. I left that place, but every so often, when I'm just about to fall asleep, I still hear it. 3 knocks, and a voice whispering through the dark. Are you in there? I never touched the smart TV all week, but the night before I left, I turned it on and saw myself sleeping. I booked the Airbnb on impulse. It was this small, converted barn out in rural Pennsylvania, surrounded by acres of woods and cornfields. I'd been burned out, work stress, city noise, the usual, and the listing promised peace and quiet. No neighbors, no traffic, just me and the trees. It was perfect, too perfect in hindsight. The barn had been renovated into a sleek, 1-bedroom loft. Exposed beams, high ceilings, one of those fake fireplaces with glowing embers. And the silence out there wasn't just peaceful, it was heavy, like the land itself had stopped breathing. The host, someone named Kendra, messaged me once after check-in to ask if everything was fine. I replied that it was. She never responded again. That was fine too. I didn't need anything. I had books, I had snacks, and I had no intention of watching TV. But the TV was there, huge, mounted above the fake fireplace. A black, glossy rectangle staring back at me. I didn't touch it until the last night. I'd already packed most of my stuff. My car was loaded. I planned to wake early and head out before sunrise. But something kept drawing my eyes to the TV, like it was waiting. Maybe it was boredom. Or maybe just that final night unease you get when you're about to leave somewhere strange. Either way, around 10:30 p.m., I picked up the remote. The screen came to life with a faint hum. It was connected to YouTube. Weird, I'd never logged in. Maybe someone before me had. I went to the history section just out of curiosity. There were 7 videos, all titled by date. Each file name matched the dates I had stayed there. July 10th, July 11th, July 12th, and so on. At first, I thought they might have been uploaded by another guest. Maybe something dumb, camping clips or home vlogs. But when I opened the most recent one, July 15th, that day, my blood ran cold. It was me, asleep in bed, shot from inside the room. I sat there watching myself snore lightly, shift under the blankets. The timestamp said 2:42 a.m. The camera was low, positioned near the floor, angled slightly upward, like it had been set behind the armchair across from the bed. My heart thudded as I clicked the previous night's video. Again, me sleeping. Different angle. This one from behind the bedroom door, just slightly ajar. I paused the frame and saw something that made my stomach drop. The reflection of someone's head, barely visible in the hallway mirror. Just watching. I clicked through every video, night by night. Each one filmed from a slightly different location. Each one uploaded just before dawn. Each one of me, completely unaware. There were no visible cameras in the room. I had checked the smoke detectors and shelves when I arrived. It had become habit after a weird Airbnb experience years ago. There was nothing obvious. No blinking lights. No pinholes. And yet, someone had been filming me. I backed out of the history and checked the YouTube account. It wasn't a user profile. It was listed as a linked device. No name. Just a blank avatar and a location tag that said, on-site recording. I opened the final video again. Let it play longer. At 2:44 a.m., something changed. The video, static and silent, suddenly showed movement in the corner. A figure stepped into the frame, barefoot, wearing dark clothes, face obscured. They crept slowly toward the bed, toward me. I was still sleeping, completely oblivious. Then, just before reaching the edge of the mattress, the figure turned and stared directly at the camera, like they knew I'd be watching eventually. I slammed the remote down. My ears were ringing. I didn't care that it was almost midnight. I grabbed my bag, keys in hand, and walked straight to the car. The porch light was off now. I didn't remember turning it off. As I pulled away down the gravel driveway, I glanced at the barn loft one last time. The bedroom light was on. I hadn't left it that way. I called Airbnb the next morning. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I told them about the videos, the dates, the figure, everything. They said the listing had just been removed, that they'd be investigating it. I asked about the host, Kendra. After a long pause, the representative said the original host had passed away 2 months ago. The property had since been managed by a third-party company, one that apparently had no record of recent bookings. No one should have had access. No one should have been uploading anything. No one should have been watching me sleep. I still don't know who uploaded those videos, or who filmed them. But some nights, around 2:44 a.m., I wake up suddenly, convinced someone's just stepped out of frame.